welcome you all to the stakeholders meeting on the Green Project Reserve. I'm Paul Marchetti. I'm the Executive Director of Penvest. The reason I'm doing this, which is going to be a brief introduction to this, is because Penvest is the grant recipient for Recovery Act money. So it comes to us. Really, this is, as much as anything, really a DEP initiative. So a lot of what you're going to be hearing today is going to be coming from DEP folks. Okay, let me, we have a PowerPoint. I'm going to run through it. Again, this is going to be brief. If I seem like I'm going too fast, it's because I refuse to read to you from a PowerPoint that's up here, and also you have a copy if you picked it up. So I'm going to hit highlights and then turn this over to questions and answers. So anyway, this is, again, the briefing on the Green Project Reserve under ARRA. I will be using ARRA, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, otherwise known as stimulus funding, but I will probably lapse into ARRA all the time. The point, if you want to go, oh, you already have gone to the next slide. The point of this, really, as we all know, the point of ARRA is to stimulate the economy and generate jobs. So a lot of what we're interested in is finding things, projects that are ready to go and start construction, however we define that, very quickly. So that's a primary important issue for all of us. Also, we need to make sure that we use this funding in a timely manner so that we don't lose it. There are other goals, of course, that you see in front of you. I'm not going to read them to you. But basically, it's economic recovery and job creation and stuff that can move pretty fast. So if we can go to the next one. What we got, what Pennsylvania got under ARRA, are two separate pots of funding for drinking water projects, $65 million, and for wastewater, $155 million. And those go into our revolving funds, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund and the Clean Water Revolving Fund. Those are the normal pots of money that Penvest receives funding through from EPA for both of these purposes. So we have a total of $220 million. Okay. Right now, our anticipation is that we will be using this funding for both grants and loans, although I will tell you we are probably leaning towards using most of it in the form of grants or what we're calling principal forgiveness, but for your purposes that doesn't matter. It's a grant to you. And we're going to start our funding in April. Applications for that are already for that meeting. The way we do our funding is through our board of directors, approves all the projects that we fund. Their first board meeting is April 20th. Applications came in February for that board meeting. So that's going to be our first round of ARRA funding. But we're also going to have another round that you're going to be primarily interested in July. The exact date has not been set. It'll probably be the middle of July. And for your purposes, the important date is May 18th, because that's when, I may be getting ahead of myself, but that's when applications are going to be due for the July meeting. And the focus, although not exclusively, but the focus of the July meeting will be this Green Project Reserve funding. So you should keep that date in mind. Things to keep in mind that we have to comply with for special requirements under ARRA. And this is written into the federal legislation. Everything that we fund has to go through DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Review. They have to meet certain environmental requirements. Davis-Bacon is a requirement. Have to apply Davis-Bacon, and also use domestic products, steel products in particular. So those requirements all carry with this funding. In addition, we have to make sure that we have all of our funding under contract and into construction, ideally by February 17, 2010. They really have to be under contract by that date. But we're shooting for October 1st as our target in Pennsylvania. And part of the reason for that, it's not up here on the slide, but there is a goal written into ARA that says we should do everything we can as a state to have at least 50% of our funding under contract within 120 days, which translates into June 17th. So we are supposed to do what we can to meet that goal. So that's really going to be what the emphasis, particularly on this first round of funding. For the second round, we're looking at October, but as I said at the very beginning, readiness to proceed is going to be very important for us. Okay. Yes, thank you. We have to, under the Act, for both pots of money, we have to devote at least 20% of the funding to green project reserve activities. Okay? So that means under the wastewater program, it's not written up here, it totals $44 million, but that's divided as $31 million for wastewater and $13 million for drinking water activities, drinking water related activities, totaling $44 million. And those targets have to be met individually. We can't do $44 million in wastewater, for example, and count that for drinking. We have to meet it on in both pots of money. So that's the minimum that we have to do. Kinds of projects, I'm going to just really skim over these because you're going to have a million questions, I think, about the kinds of projects, and I'm not going to read them to you. But we're looking at water efficiency, energy efficiency, what we're calling green infrastructure, and environmental innovations. Under water efficiency types of things, we basically want to have improved technologies to use less water. That's true for both on the wastewater side and the drinking water side. And you can see the kinds of things up there, and it's also in the handout. A very short list of types of eligible projects, but the list is really longer. We just picked out a very few. And there is guidance on this which you will have access to. I will say on the drinking water side, one thing that's not up there is we can fund in-home appliances for water efficiency and I think also energy efficiency, which is the next slide. Of course, our funding on drinking water has to go to a public, what is defined as a public water system. Public doesn't imply ownership. It can be publicly or privately owned. But it has to be an established system. But that system could give assistance to homeowners to put in water-efficient appliances, for example. So that's one type of thing that we could do. Under energy efficiency, we're trying to reduce energy use, both on the drinking water and wastewater side. Again, energy-efficient home appliances could also qualify. But we're really looking at, wind, solar, the types of things listed down here on the wastewater side, as the types of things we want to do to reduce energy usage. Green infrastructure. A lot of this is really, I think, anyway, personally, where we're going to see the interest on the wastewater side. Lots of things fit into this, but the type of activity I typically think of on wastewater is greening up an urban area to capture stormwater runoff. In order, the necessary condition is that whatever you do has to, on the wastewater side, produce a water quality benefit. But if you can, for example, plant trees, or replace impervious surfaces, basketball courts, if you will, or schoolyards, whatever you want, with something that absorbs water and reduces stormwater runoff. That, in my mind, is kind of the prototypical green infrastructure project on the wastewater side. I don't mean to imply that's limited to that by any means, because it's riparian buffers, specifically mentioned in the legislation, or in the guidelines, those also qualify. So there's a lot of things that fall under this, but that's what I tend to think of anyway. On the drinking water side, well, I'm sorry, you can also see green roofs and stuff like that on water plants. Anything that absorbs runoff generally is what qualifies, but again, I don't want to limit it to that.